What up, everybody? Podcast Elrond, episode
We're back,
7.
baby.
Holy cow. It's been a few days. We won't get into how many days exactly it's been, but it's really great to be back with everybody. Alec, what's going on, man? How are you doing?
Oh, dude, I'm doing pretty well, Stephen. Yeah, it has been a minute, but it feels really good to be back on Podcast Elrond. I know we've had a little bit of a hiatus, but man, it's just cool being back with you guys, and we're excited to share what we've been up to. Me personally, man, I've just been working and getting my new house together, dude. Yesterday, I built a raised garden bed yesterday, man. So I'm feeling like Farmer Alec over here. You know, farmer on Maiar DEX, farmer in the real life. You know what it is, man. What about you, Stephen?
Man. Dude, I'm doing good, and I must say that this is unofficially sponsored by Happy Dad. What do you got drinking over there?
Well, your boy is drinking out of what is called an iron flask. It's a knockoff of the hydro flask, and I am drinking water today. I've been severely dehydrated. Got to stay hydrated over here, brother.
Hell yeah. Well, cheers to you, and cheers to everybody who's tuning in today. Really appreciate everybody. We had some people on Twitter asking for episode 7, demanding a new episode. So we're happy, we're excited, and let's get into it, man. Let's get into all the stuff.
Before we start getting into it, I think there's an elephant in the room that needs to be addressed, Steven.
What could that be?
Just real quick, people have literally been reaching out to me on Twitter, and I feel like it needs to be stated. Where is the economistic? What happened? Just put it out there so everyone knows what happened, dude. We just need to know. Yeah,
totally. I could say a lot about it, but in short, I made a tweet that said, if Bitcoin doesn't go to $40,000 within 24 hours, I'll delete my Twitter. So that's kind of where it started, and I've seen other people on Twitter kind of, make that joke. We'll call it a joke before, and I just felt really good about how price is looking, and I kind of put my quote unquote Twitter where my mouth was, and so it kind of started for me even as a joke, but it really did turn into something more serious. Obviously, I mean, it was all a matter of once that 24 hours is due, let's see what happens. But yeah, I mean, so I made a tweet that said if Bitcoin doesn't pass or go to 40K within 24 hours, then I was going to delete it, and it didn't happen. I think it ended up hitting 40K within like 30 minutes or so after I deleted my Twitter. I just deactivated it. So how about this? All you fans out there, if you can get this video to 100 likes down below, the economistic is going to come back to Twitter.
Oh shit.
So yeah, it's out there. I've never done anything like that, but all the cool YouTubers always say, "Oh, get all the likes and we'll do something." So that's the only way. I mean, I can't just reactivate my Twitter because that would be kind of unethical, but you have the power to bring the economistic back to life.
The people, I just want to say that the people do miss you, dude, and I get reached out to on an occasion, and they're like, "Yo, where's Steven?" or "Where's the economistic?" And I'm like, guys, it's kind of complicated. So I'm glad you're putting it out there, and I'm sure everyone's going to be happy to hear from you, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's a much longer conversation, but I mean, just for those watching, I just want to emphasize that the internet and everything that's out there really can suck down a lot of your time. And part of the reason that I actually, followed through on deactivating my Twitter was because I wanted to refocus and recalculate, I'll say, just what I wanted to be doing on the internet, what I wanted to be using my Twitter for. And I think that in general, my Twitter was getting kind of diluted with a lot of tweets, and the whole purpose of the Twitter account and Podcast Elrond is to help, is to guide, is to educate. And my Twitter got to a point where I was just participating in a lot of speculation and different type of talk, expressing my own thoughts and opinions, which there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But I wanted to be part of, and I want to be part of the good, and I don't necessarily want to be bringing up controversial ideas. I think that there's a time and a place for that to happen. So we'll see. 100 likes, you can bring the economistic back to life. I'll leave it at that. And, if you guys can get it there, then I'll be back on Twitter and you can ask me more about, what I've kind of shared with you, and we'll leave it at that, bro.
Yeah, man. All right. Sounds good. Get us to 100 likes. Bring him back, guys. All right, as you were saying, dude, let's go ahead and get into this, man.
Yeah. So it's been a heck of a time. I mean, over the past month, I think the last time we were together for the podcast episode, it was about a month ago. And so I'll just kind of touch on how I've been managing my portfolio, and I will get into some specifics about where my money is situated. And again, I want to emphasize to everybody who's out there watching that what's so cool, Alec, about, the Maiar DEX, and I think you'll agree with me, is that it's such a personal and it's an exciting product. Everybody has their own risk tolerance. Everybody has their opportunity to do the due diligence, to look out and see, what tokens are being posted on there. What are you interested in? What opportunities do you want to be a part of? So everybody brings to the table their own kind of, thought process and what they're looking to get out of their strategy. Yeah. So I, definitely want to include that as a bit of like not financial advice. But with that being said, I am fully on board with metastaking. It's kind of crazy how, not crazy, but it's funny how the team was like, metastaking, metabonding, meta this, meta that. It's like, all right, we get the meta thing.
Yeah. I think they're just trying to take advantage of that meme jargon out there.
Yeah, dude. But it's actually really a little bit disappointing because, and this probably is going to catch you off guard what I'm about to say, because it's the word meta. And Mark Zuckerberg, frick that guy, dude. Like, the fact that he changed Facebook to Meta, like, it's quite frustrating because recently I was talking to an old roommate of mine. I was actually talking to his dad, my old roommate.
Yeah.
I was talking to him and I was, just being kind of joking, but I was dead serious. And I asked him, I was like, are you going to join the metaverse? And there was no hesitation, no questioning. He just started talking about Facebook. And it's just like, dude, like, I didn't even try to continue the conversation because at that point it was like, all right, I don't want to get into what I'm kind of talking about here, which is, the metaverse is something, but it's a bit frustrating that Facebook kind of commandeered that name. And I mean, they're just going to brand the hell out of it, just like they brand everything else.
Yeah, at least they can't copyright the term metaverse, There's a whole, I think our generation and people below us, they know that the metaverse is more than just Facebook, and that's the comforting part. So I wouldn't want, 50-year-olds in the metaverse anyways. No, that sounded horrible.
Yeah.
No offense. I would want 50-year-olds.
Everybody's invited to the metaverse. Yeah. But no, dude, the metaverse is... an interesting thing. NFTs continue to progress. I have still not sold a single NFT. And that was another aspect of, taking a step back from Twitter, was that, whenever I first got into crypto, NFTs weren't even a thing. And I didn't join NFTs until Elrond made it so simple. And really, Twitter gave me the open door to, learn about and discover new NFTs. So it's a longer conversation. I'm a man of many words, but really kind of it's a bit frustrating because the NFTs for me are a longer play for sure. I mean, it's like, who knows where these NFTs are going to go, and to me they're just collectible items that I truly attribute like zero value to my NFTs. Like, don't get me wrong, like, I'm not saying my NFTs aren't valuable. I'm not saying they're not worth anything, but I don't view them as liquidity. I don't view them as, oh, this is a part of my portfolio. Like, they are just kind of out there, and like, NFTs are, I dare say, are the like riskiest part of my entire portfolio, because I mean, it's kind of like a year at least that I plan to even consider selling them. And it's just like, dude, I who knows? Like, this is all just, the Wild West, as we say.
Yeah, man, the NFT game is definitely an interesting one. I think we talked about it on the podcast with Go Guy Go and Crustless Crypto about the bubble that we experienced. And
Watch that if y'all want to. Alec and I, Podcast Elrond, were featured on Go Guy Go's YouTube. Crustless Crypto is there as well, so we'll link that in the description. But sorry, go ahead, Alec.
Yeah, but we were just talking about the crypto bubble, and we were all, you and I were getting pretty involved at the beginning, and then you Steven, really took the reins and started running with the NFT stuff. But
Yeah.
I remember like when it first started popping off, man, it definitely felt like a bunch of euphoria, because like you would buy this NFT and then a couple days later you're like, holy shit, look how much more Eagle this thing is worth. And
Yeah.
it felt really good. And then people were posting screenshots of how much, like there was a website you could go on and like just see how much all your NFTs were worth in one thing. And everyone was just kind of living off this hype. But yeah, it started to die off, and now it seems like we've hit like a stability point on the markets. I don't see anything crashing too hard anymore, which is cool.
Yeah, I totally, man. The first wave of this NFT on Elrond, or NFTs on Elrond, I mean, so many people were excited about it, and it's definitely, it became inflated, but along with the rest of the market, the everything is kind of settling. And I mean, my opinion, I haven't looked at the market much today, but I mean, over the past several weeks, I mean, I will just say that also too, the reason that I deleted my Twitter was it just, dude, I mean, I am so bullish. I am bullish all the time. So I really just kind of got tired of essentially becoming this boy who's crying wolf. Like, oh, the bottom's in, the bottom's in, the bottom's in. And I mean, the reason any time in the past I've said, oh, the bottom is in, is because I'm looking at, I'm analyzing the charts and things look positive. And I mean, I'm ready for the next bull run to continue. But I deleted my Twitter because it's like, dude, like, I'm still convinced that like we're at the market lows here, but like I'm just spending, I dare say, wasting so much time just like trying to push my own thoughts of like, this is why the market is bottoming. And it's like, people need to see price before they will ever listen. And on Podcast Elrond, there's, I think it was a solo session or a deep dive video that I posted. And I think the title is essentially, the bottom must be in. And I tell you what, man, the price has not gone lower than when it was in that video. So, I mean, that's just a takeaway from how freaking slow markets can be. And I mean, I deactivated the Economistic, but I've been poking around on Podcast Elrond's Twitter. And Alec, I saw you tweeted something along the lines of like, dude, like Bitcoin trading sideways is like, I'm losing my mind. Just like, make up your mind already.
Dude, yes, that perfectly describes the market situation currently.
Totally.
Like unlike you, I continue to like check the Maiar app and check crypto.com like constantly, dude. Like it's a real problem.
I've been doing really well. There was a 3 or 4 day period I visited a friend in Los Angeles. I didn't look at the charts once. I deleted some apps, but I noticed that like, yes, thank you. I noticed that like other apps of mine that I didn't even realize had crypto updates, like they were still like pinging me with notifications. It's like, no, shut the hell up. Like, I'm not interested. Like, I'll just, because it truly is like so much more fun to like not look at the market for a day, 2 days, like a week if you can manage. And I mean, obviously it's more fun if the market has moved up since that week, but I don't know, like, that's what I want to try to do, because it's just, I'll leave it at that. Everything's kind of tied in.
It might just be me, but I feel like it's kind of more fun to be watching the market, or it's kind of more addicting to watch the market when it's going sideways like this, because you're always expecting something to happen every single day. You're like, okay, is today the day where we're going to finally realize, are we going up or down? But we just continue to consolidate, man. And it's a pretty damn tight consolidation. If we're talking strictly Bitcoin, we're consolidating between that 38, 42.
Totally,
like,
exactly.
It's just that the whole freaking time you're like, make up your effing mind, man. Like, start going back to all-time highs, please, or just take it. Please don't, but just take a dump or do something, other than sideways.
And man, that's in the past. So the last time we were in this sort of season was this past now I can't even think of when it was, but it was after Bitcoin was at like 65K, after a lot of the hype of Tesla buying Bitcoin cooled off. So I think that must have been like last summer or so. I mean, we're at the bottom, so like the last time we were at kind of like this area that, I mean, it's just so painstaking, like, and basically what gives me confidence, and there's actually another YouTube channel I made out there that I kind of discontinued, but I'm making this video talking about technical analysis, and essentially exactly what you're saying, Alec. It's just like, why isn't the market going down? Like, do something, like show us that volatility that we all like low-key kind of like, we love to hate. But at the same time, that's what the market is testing. It's literally just like riding at just like basically this like losing everything moment. And it's sometimes like people might get impatient or might get fearful, and then they just quickly just like sell everything, and that's when you get those big wicks downward. And it's all a matter of how the price is behaving, because if the price kind of wicks down and then just like immediately snaps back up, like that is the message of demand. That is the message of people essentially just capitulating. And whenever markets really do dive deep downwards, like that's just like a collection of people feeling the same way. But I think we're getting to the point where the people, I mean, this is the same message I stated, weeks ago back when I was on Twitter, was just like, dude, like sellers don't have enough supply. Like sellers don't have enough power to push the markets down. I think that there's just like so many bullish cases for the blockchain, and I'll just leave it at the blockchain very wide.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of psychological components right now to this too, with the whole Ukraine situation.
Big time.
Yeah, there's a lot of fear in the market, like you were saying, and a lot of it is tied to the current state of the world. And you have a lot, and I think what also kind of maybe helped keep this support level with Bitcoin was that people are also seeing real world use cases for Bitcoin along with these issues that are currently happening in the world. Like there are a lot of people using Bitcoin to start liquidating their rubles and stuff in Russia, and Ukraine legalized all digital assets, and like because it's borderless, people are able to start just donating to Ukraine using the blockchain. And matter of fact, there are quite a few charities that you're able to donate to using blockchain. So like there are real world use cases, and it's unfortunately it's being shown because there is crisis in the world.
Totally. It's one of those things that obviously nobody likes to see war, but it just goes to show that, again, I'll speak broadly here because Bitcoin is the name brand per se, but blockchain is useful. And it's useful both from a collector's standpoint for people who just, I'm just going to buy a bunch of Bitcoin because it's going to hold its value. But I mean, on the whole other side of that is this idea of beauty is in the eye of the beholder, that you can use it and you can find the value in many different ways. And that's just Bitcoin. Bitcoin is just, a peer-to-peer method to transfer funds. But, so many different kind of use cases kind of came up out of it. And then obviously with the introduction of smart contracts into the blockchain, obviously we're bullish on Elrond, but dude, Elrond is, it's a web, and it is expanding, and it just continues to just like do all of these things, and it's just crazy. We'll get into it. I'll leave it at that because obviously we're talking about how the web is expanding. But yeah, man, the blockchain is just objectively valuable. And people that 2-3 years ago say, oh, it's tulip mania, it's an exit scam, it's a get rich quick scheme, it's like, bro, like I'm not going to talk about that because I just have found it to be valuable for me. If you don't see that, I'm not going to like argue and waste my time. But I still want people to acknowledge it and at least become aware of it.
Yeah, dude, there are many ways that cryptocurrency and blockchain technology are valuable, and I really think the world is starting to wake up to it. And
totally,
we're like every single year, and like we've talked about it before, like there's I feel like there's news every day now around blockchain technology, and just news around people beginning to accept it more. Like on Twitter today, I saw breaking news that Malaysia is starting to consider Bitcoin as one of their official currencies. Like, It it's not stopping, man, and the train continues to chug along. And if you go to growth.elrond.com, I mean, the active user rate continues to chug along too. So like the numbers speak for itself, you know. And so you can try to fight this coming wave all that you want, but eventually you just gotta let the current take you, or you're gonna drown, you know. So, like let it carry you, man. Don't try to fight it the whole time, because you're just gonna be tired, you know.
Yeah. And I mean, that's what has been so cool to see with Elrond is, you know, how really the product that Elrond is, whether you want to include that into Maiar DEX and everything, like it's literally just that price is pretty meaningless at this point. Like, if anything, price is important just, you know, to know how much you're buying or how much your portfolio has gone down. And I mean, you've probably heard, as have many people have heard, the idea of just like, oh, this time is different. And I mean, I really do think that this time is different for so many different reasons. And, you know, part of the reason for that is, you know, what Bitcoin is being utilized for these days. And then, you know, it's just going to continue to be that foundation that really just becomes this metaphorical foundation for people to point to and be like, dude, like, Bitcoin was the first of its kind, and it's valuable. And we have these new products coming along, these new chains coming along that are, you know, they've just simply, like, they have just improved on Bitcoin. And it's just like a commonplace idea these days where it's like, Bitcoin was first, and all of these new chains have come along to improve. And like I said, that I got talking to some dude at a coffee shop who overheard me talking to somebody else. Crazy how just people these days in coffee shops now care to talk about blockchain or, you know, cryptocurrency. Like, that used to, like, I literally used to be laughed at when I would try to, you know, cultivate conversations about this. And now I have, you know, old dudes in the middle of, you know, tech capital of the world, San Francisco, asking me about, oh, what cryptocurrencies, what blockchains are you invested in? It's like, dude, where have you been? But, you know, it was a great conversation.
I think a big driver with that is a lot of people see the gains. A lot of people see the numbers and they're like, damn, I need a piece of that pie. And that's why I think we're starting to see a lot of the older generation move into crypto technology. Like my grandpa, he wants me, when I go see him, hopefully here in a month or so, he wants me to come over and talk to him about Eagle and stuff.
Nice.
But also a big part of it is that he wants to protect himself from the dollar and the inflation that is currently happening, which I totally understand. Like, I mean, currently, let's see, Eagle is up over, I think, like 12% from one. It's over 12% from 130. So imagine buying in at 130 near some of its all-time lows a couple weeks back, and now you're sitting at 170. You know, so like that. Those are some of the lowest numbers of Eagle, and if the coin continues to gain in valuation, you're beating the dollar every time.
Totally.
So yeah, it like I see some tweets on Twitter about inflation is up 7% and Bitcoin is down 7%. Perfect hedge, you know, something like that. And it's just people talking shit, and I'm like, but I mean, if you were an early investor, yeah, it was a perfect hedge. It really was, because if you were an early investor, you're up, well, a lot.
Yeah. A lot is right. Very accurate calculations, Alec.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. But I mean, that's what I'm really excited about. And I'm, you know, just, it's weird that I say this, that I'm thankful to Elrond, but I am, because, you know, I'll speak to you, Alec, and everybody else who's new, relatively speaking, to cryptocurrency and investing in it, is that for me, that, you know, and this will finally wrap around to actually talking about updates for our portfolios, finally getting around to touching on that. But yeah, so metastaking is something that I'm utilizing because I think that it just makes it's a no-brainer to me, because by succumbing myself or exposing myself to the risk of cryptocurrency, like, yeah, the markets go down, but holy cow, like the ability to earn, whether it be lock mex or liquidity provider fees, and then on top of that, metastaking allows for the ride token represented in your liquidity to also be exposed to staking. So literally 3 streams of income, as we're familiar with, and if you're not, there is a podcast Elrond episode that I touched on it, and I was so excited when they announced that, because I think that Holoride is a really cool product, and it's going to be one of the biggest, play to earn platforms being built on Elrond at this point. I don't know what else could be behind the scenes, other people building. But the fact that, who is backing Holoride, it was always something that I think intrigued a lot of people. We have, people from Marvel, from Disney, from Audi, Porsche. We have just people who are looking and thinking about, what's the next big thing? And they've brought to the table Holoride. And the fact that it is on Maiar DEX plays into, or rather it goes to show, put like just very loosely saying, it's like, why would Holoride build on Elrond? Like, they go to CoinMarketCap, how many 15,000 different cryptocurrencies, you even have this big name brand Ethereum, and I mean all these others, like, why did they choose Elrond? And that's, the questions that, to me, like, I don't need to think about, because it's really just kind of a bit of confirmation bias. But so I was providing liquidity for Ride, and then they added this meta staking opportunity, and it's just like, wow, like you can take actions with your portfolio. You can sell out of the market into cash, and you can buy lower, but literally, like, I have sold off some of my lock mex to essentially dollar cost average, if you want to call it, into Elrond and into Ride. And I did take a loss per se on the lock mex that I did exchange through lock mex exchange, but it's a very interesting conversation, because it has to do with the future value of these assets, and it's completely unknown. We don't know where Elrond's price is going to be in a year. We don't know where LockMex price is going to be, and it's very risky to sell LockMex, because we didn't do much, if anything, to really, we had our capital exposed in such a way that earned us this asset, but it was a free asset for all all intents and purposes. So it's just, I won't recommend per se selling LockMex, but it's something to consider.
I've actually sold quite a bit of my locked mex, but I only sold the part that I was farming in my mex farm. I'm actually participating in metabonding currently, so nice. I unpaired 100% of my liquidity tokens. And so then I went ahead and staked all my locked mex from that unpairing into the locked mex metabonding farm. And then I went ahead and staked all of my eagle into a regular staking pool on the Maiar app.
Nice.
And
back to staking.
So I'm actually going to see how this metabonding plays out. I've been seeing some posts where, like, you literally earn nothing.
Yeah.
You are earning like $80 a month, maybe. And that's kind of like super upsetting to me. Low key, maybe high key. So if that really is the case, I'm going to unstake everything, redo all my LP tokens. And I'm actually considering, listen to this, I'm actually considering just selling all my locked mex, 100% of it, getting all into eagled, selling half for Ride eagled liquidity, metastaking, baby. 3 streams of income. I mean, come on, like, what other better way? Or I might just go back to doing my eagled mex LP token, or eagled locked mex, and just earning locked mex and just selling all my locked mex as I get it. Because that's still 60% APR when you consider the loss of switching your locked mex to eagled. 60% is better than earning whatever $80 a month would have been, considering my portfolio size.
Yeah, it's a tricky conversation because LockMex is a young asset, and part of what before I deleted my Twitter, I got into a lengthy conversation with some others about LockMex. And, there's this huge, massive disclaimer before I talk about the idea of exchanging, swapping LockMex, because what frustrates me a little bit. I don't like to use the word frustrate because I am so like amazed and thankful at the team for what they've done with Maiar DEX and Elrond. So there's, above all, very thankful and just absolutely stoked about everything. But, there's this dilemma within me of, okay, like, I want to be supportive of Elrond. I want to be supportive of these, tokens that they've put in place, like Mex and Locked Mex. But at the same time, like, I view myself as a portfolio manager. I'm an investor. I'm a trader. I don't try to make very many trades. So it's a dilemma because I want to share my thoughts and my opinions, but I don't necessarily like the reason for that is not to try to convince people. Rather, it's just like, open your eyes or consider a different opportunity. What can you do with LockMex? And and it's even tricky to talk about because it's just a small little seed that you can put out there for people to hear, and a seed can grow into a massive organism. And that's really kind of what happened to me. Was when Maiar DEX launched, it was great. We were approaching our own strategies and formulating how we were going to combine the Mex we're earning with LockMex and the Denver strategy and all that good stuff. But within a week or two, the team decided to change how they were distributing, and they heavily weighted the distribution towards locking your assets.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. Like that's the top of the iceberg, because I mean, so when the team decided, all right, let's protect ourselves against mercenary capital, they made that change and they allocated so many rewards to Locked Mex. And then what did they do? They said Locked Mex is the first class citizen. And, maybe this first class citizen was always going to be synonymous with Locked Mex, but it's just all very strange to me because what is first class citizenship? Locked Mex is putting just a big, like a hefty, amount of trust into the team and trusting that what are they going to do? Like, what is the first class citizenship going to be? And I'm trading is a tricky game because there are so many unknowns, and what you want to try to do anyway, what I try to do is just try to, only control or only care about the things that I have control over. So I expressed it on Twitter that I wish that Locked Mex was truly locked. I wish that there wasn't an avenue for me to, swap it over because, give me an option, give me an idea, and put it out there to say, oh, there's this place that you can exchange Locked Mex for Elrond. And it's like, well, dang, like, I could either wait a year and I could, see how the price is. I could see how these, utilities of Mex and Lock Mex, develop. And, I don't say praise, but I praise people who are like Locked Mex, like I am holding freaking strong, because I'm going to go ahead and kind of try to remove bias that you're probably going to be winning. Like in the long term, like I feel like the team is going to continue to bolster the first class citizenship. But for me, I don't own LockMex. I did sell it all. So
Oh wow, dude. That's crazy, man. So now you're all eagled right now?
Yeah, man. And you know what I'm doing? I mean, for those who might be new, basically the old strategy was that we would take our rewards and we were going to increase the liquidity we had for eagled Mex. So they essentially, when they changed the Locked Mex distribution, that kind of went away. But I've essentially just adapted that into eagled ride liquidity using metastaking, and all of the Lock Mex that I earn from my liquidity, I'm exchanging, and then I'm literally, swapping the amount 1-to-1, and I'm literally just compounding my LP back into metastaking. And like, yeah, I'm giving up this first class citizenship. I'm giving up this potential future value utility of mechs. But like, dude, like I am earning Elrond. I'm earning Ride. Like, yeah, maybe in a year I'll be like, oh, darn it. I bet, I wish I would have held my Lock Mex. But, dude, if Mex is performing well, do you think that do you think that Elrond are going to be like performing poorly? Like, there's no way that I'm going to ever be in a place where I'm just like, bro, that was the biggest mistake of my life. Like, if anything, I'll be like, I wish I would have, acted differently. But dude, like, it's tricky.
I think, like I've heard you say it before, but I think Elrond is the first class citizen. Maybe on the Maiar DEX itself, maybe one day Mex will be the first class citizen. But in terms of the whole ecosystem itself, in my mind, Elrond is the first class citizen. And I think if you can be accumulating Eagled at these prices in any kind of fashion that you can,
dude,
you're making the right move either way. You know what I mean? So that's how I look at it.
Yeah, and I mean that's the trick. Like, I think that, disclaimer, I've been, accumulating crypto for a while, so perhaps people view Mex in a very similar way that I viewed it at the beginning. Because, to remind you, Alec, and anybody else, it's like, like, I was on Twitter, like, typing away defending Mex, but the narrative kind of switched for me because, every day, back when I was, checking prices a lot more often, like, dude, like, it's just, it wasn't very exciting to every day open up the Max Eagle chart and see that it continues to lose valuation. And also too, like, again, I love the team, and, if you're watching, anyone out there, you're awesome. But at the same time, it's like, I didn't want to continue to, like, be waiting, like, looking at the team, like, when are you gonna add it? When are you gonna add utility to Mex? When's it coming? It's like, dude, like, frick that. Like, I'm just going to, for now, because I can, now that, I mean, that's another topic, is you can now lock your Mex. So
yeah,
I don't know. Go ahead.
Maybe those are some bullish undertones, in my opinion. Like, yeah, why would anyone want to lock their Mex other than to maybe take part in the meta bonding pool with locked Mex? I don't know why you would ever want to do it. I'm sure, like you said, like, the team's awesome. I trust the team personally. They know what they're doing when they start to release these, like, upgrades. There's gonna be a reason for people being able to lock their Mex. I'm sure there is, and you don't just introduce that feature without some kind of follow-up.
All right, everybody. Really sorry, but we just discovered that my camera turned off after 30 minutes. Alec, you were just about to talk about your Lock Mex and kind of give an update about your portfolio. So you're doing metabonding, right?
Yep. So before I actually went to metabonding, I sold off all of my Lock Mex at my Mex farm at the Lock Mex exchange. I just wanted a little bit more Eagle to stake in my metabonding, and I figured I had plenty of Eagle in my LP tokens, and I wasn't planning on selling any of that Eagle when I have plenty of locked Mex in my LP token, and I wasn't planning on selling any of that locked Mex when I went ahead and unpaired everything. So I unpaired everything 100% for my farms. I have all my Eagle staked. I have all my locked Mex staked in the metabonding locked Mex farm. So I'm waiting for metabonding to come around. If it's not what I expect, to be completely honest, I'm going to pull everything out of metabonding. I'm going to go right back to the farms. I'm either going to sell all my locked Mex. I know. Yes, I know. And do the Eagled ride. Or I'm going to go ahead and keep my, go back to doing the Eagled locked Mex LP token and earn locked Mex and sell it as I earn it. I figure earning, 60% APR when I calculate in the locked Mex exchange rate is definitely worth it, considering the amount of money that people have been saying you're going to earn with metabonding. It's negligible compared to the APR that I would earn on farming. So I got to take care of my portfolio. I got to do what I got to do for me, and right now, the best move to me seems like capturing that L1 token that is Elrond, that is eagled, and gaining as much as I can at these current prices, man?
Yeah, that's what's like crazy to me is, I mean, all of this kind of liquidity, we'll call it, with given the opportunity to swap lock mechs, it's like, man, like I think that, I mean, people like me who and like you too, who are, selling off our lock mechs, like, man, we're really sucking up supply. We're really, in a roundabout way, we're like kind of like helping Elrond more and more. I mean, we can go online and see how much Elrond is available on exchanges and stuff like that, which in my opinion is already like a pretty like, limited amount. And the lock mechs that I have sold, like, it just blows my mind that was essentially, it's kind of a gift that I earned by participating in Maiar DEX early on. So for a little bit there, I was going to participate in metabonding, but for some reason, I'm a little bit more riding the train, we'll call it, of just just trusting L1, as you say, the Elrond layer 1, because it's where all of the foundation is, and everything that's being built on it is adds a little bit more risk, whereas Elrond continues to prove its value and its utility. So we'll see. I mean, I think that in the long run, lock mechs, through metabonding, of course, they could continue to just like stack on all of these different new
Utilities?
Utilities, but people
Tokens?
like projects. I
Yeah.
don't know why my new projects. And I mean, maybe and I'm sure that in a year it'll be crazy, I'm sure, to go on the metabonding tab on Maiar DEX and like just see scroll through all of these different projects that have that are doing metabonding.
Yeah, and speaking of the metabonding, Benjamin Minku tweeted today something that I saw that was pretty interesting. It's an exchange called MEXC Global, and I think the name is just coincidental, but this exchange, it has, I believe, 6 million users in 200 plus countries, and he said something along the lines, I have it pulled up right here, if you don't mind.
No, dude, totally.
Excited to unveil a strategic collaboration with MEXC Global. They will support exceptional projects in the Elrond Network ecosystem with guidance, funding, and access to new markets in 200 plus countries, including the US. So that leads me to believe these tokens that are starting to be listed on the Maiar DEX, we're about ready to have a centralized exchange that's going to have these tokens and make them available for trading outside of the Maiar DEX. Which I think is going to lead to some growth, man.
Yeah.
I didn't realize what that meant until I started thinking about it and reading through Benjamin's tweets again today. And I think that's a big move, dude.
Yeah, that's interesting. Like, I mean, there's this kind of like thought process that I had about early on how I kind of wanted Maiar DEX to be kind of this exclusive thing that really required people to purchase Max or purchase Elrond. But I think that it could be very interesting development to see if some of these tokens that have listed on Maiar DEX, if they do become available on different exchanges. Like, I haven't really thought much about that. Like, obviously it's great and exciting to see these tokens grow outside, but I mean, I guess to think about it, like, in order for that to happen, like, ESDT, the Elrond Standard Digital Token, would need to essentially be like, incorporated into these other exchanges, right? Either that, or there'd be another like confusing process of bridging your Arrow or bridging your ZPay token, into the actual ESDT, like.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, like, does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess I hadn't considered that. I haven't even considered how exchanges work in the first place, I guess. Like, how do they support all these different networks at one time on one thing? Like, how is Binance running Elrond if it's not, Binance isn't specifically built on an ESDT network, you know. So yeah, that I think that just leads to a lot more questions, honestly, that I'd like to have answered, because I really don't
deep
know,
stuff.
man. That is interesting. Yeah.
That's like a good question for, I mean, like, goodness gracious, like, a software developer, because, obviously going on Binance and purchasing Elrond, like, you're not buying an ERC20 Elrond,
Yeah.
like you're buying Elrond, but definitely that is way above my pay grade to kind of understand, the underlying roots of like when you're buying Elrond, like, I don't know, man. Like that's some deep stuff.
Now you have me. Now you have me questioning, why is the Ethereum bridge taking so long? Like, because it kind of now seems like it's kind of a trivial thing. Why can't you just buy Ethereum immediately on the DEX? But like, I guess I think we're speaking way. I'm speaking way out of my zone here.
No,
Like,
we're experts.
like, I have no idea how anyone does that kind of thing. But like, yeah, it's
Let us know
just
in the
really
comments.
confusing. Yes, please. And speaking of the Ethereum bridge, I think they're nearing completion, man.
Dude,
and
I'm ready.
yes, bring it on. I think, if I'm understanding this correctly, I think that means anything that's an ERC20 token can be on the DEX, right?
I think so. I mean, we'll see. Right now, it's just like basically for the USDC kind of bridging over to Maiar DEX. So I don't know, dude. I guess for me, it's one of those things that, I mean, because I'm all into Elrond, for the most part, I have some other stuff, but it's like, I mean, that's going to be beneficial for people who are interested in bridging over, but it's like, I mean, I'm not super concerned or interested because I don't have anything to bridge, That's kind of a lame addition to the conversation, but I don't know.
I think the reason why I'm so interested in it is because I see what it does for exposure for the DEX.
Oh yeah,
Like,
I'm crazy interested in it from like a high level view.
Yeah. Like, I think this is gonna bring a lot of exposure to the DEX. And speaking of exposure, there's a couple more things that they're doing that's bringing exposure to the DEX. The team's made a couple of moves that have made, I wouldn't say headlines, but they've made a bunch of different crypto news, like Cointelegraph and I don't think CoinMarketCap releases a newsletter, but they might. But like, some of those bigger names out there that release crypto news, and like today they released a tweet about well, this didn't make any crypto news. Let me go ahead and talk about something that does, so I can stay on topic. That Benjamin, a couple weeks ago now, I believe, the TwistPay acquisition got approved by the Romanian National Bank, which means now that
Big.
they have
I think that was freaking massive. Like it's a piece of the puzzle, and like the more pieces that get added to it, it just like, dang, like, again, going back to what they said, they're positioning themselves to onboard the next 1 billion users. And it's like, I mean, that's another part of why I freaking deleted Twitter. Just like, dude, like, I'm so tired of like putting time on Twitter and like accidentally like basically like uploading this like impatient, just like mindset to my brain, because everybody on Twitter is like, everything now, like, bring it to me. But it's like, dude, I just miss the old days when I wasn't on Twitter super heavily, and it was just like, dude, like, I'm just like living my life, and Elrond is doing their work, and over time it will come to fruition. And it's really cool.
It's kind of nice just hearing the news without any other noise around it. All you read are the actual headlines instead of everyone just BSing the stuff. Yeah, but this acquisition, I believe this is the road to a Maiar card. I'm pretty sure this is the beginning road. And that's what makes this super cool, man, is that we are watching the team like set up a good base. And I've recently seen Benjamin starting to make more marketing moves now.
Yes, I totally see that. And I mean, Alec, I texted you today whenever I noticed that Elrond was going to be one of the main partners of this blockchain week happening in Dubai. And to me, like, it's like, okay, like, I don't know. So for a long time, obviously Maiar DEX is relatively new, but like Elrond has literally just, I mean, the team has seemingly just been okay with just like being in the background. And because they know it's like in their, as I understand their perspective, it's like we're building, like we're working, like we're moving. And I mean, everybody wants everything right now, but we've got work to do before. But the fact that Elrond has now, put that foot out and, they're saying like, yo, like we're a name and we're partners here. And, this blockchain week is a 3-day event happening with, I mean, it's a list of all these different names from all these huge names. And yes, that's why I texted you this morning, Alec, about that, because it's like this tastes a little bit different, It's like Elrond has been playing the background, but it's like now it seems like they're kind of like, hey, what's up? Like, we're here. And like, I mean, in a very humble way, but like they're just going to be like there. Like they're just going to be there, and it's going to be like where, like all these people are going to be like, dude, why did I miss Elrond? How did I miss Elrond? I don't know. I mean, it seems like a different season is starting to unfold.
I think you're 100% right, man. And what kind of like reaffirms why I think you're right is because I'm starting to see, maybe it's because of this Ethereum thing and the own your data thing, and that's one of the new launch pads that Elrond's about ready to do, or maybe it's something else. But I'm starting to see Elrond tick up, and Bitcoin still remain in sideways consolidation.
Yeah, there have been a few days that I'm just like. So, I mean, years now, I've had this idea, and I still believe that some chains are going to come along, and they're going to flip Bitcoin. Like, Bitcoin will continue to be valuable, but, like, there are objectively more valuable chains that exist. And that's exactly what you're going to look for when, the flipping happens. It's like Bitcoin is either sideways or down, but these other chains are like clearly like making steps up in the, crypto market cap.
Yeah, and I think when everything was having a pretty bad downturn, Solana was no. It was Luna. Yep, Luna was kicking ass.
I noticed that for sure.
Yeah, and so like I felt like that's kind of an abnormal thing that you used to not see in this market. You used to see Bitcoin's down, everything's going to go ahead and follow what Bitcoin's doing. But now we're, as you were saying, the sideways consolidation period, man, it's pretty weird. And then we're starting to have other things that are starting to move up and just saying, it almost seems like they're saying bye, as they're moving on.
I mean, they're defining themselves as different products because that is exactly what they are. Like, Bitcoin is a thing, and it is valuable, and it provides utility. But, dude, like, whether it be Luna or, Elrond, I won't get into others. But, like, they're different products. Like, they're accomplishing different things. It's just, I don't know.
I think what you said right there was really important, Stephen. They're different products. Bitcoin itself is it's this one thing entirely on its own. There were a couple copycats out there, but now I think people realize that blockchain is not just Bitcoin. And so like they are, like you said, they're different products, and all these other cryptocurrencies are way more than just a payment system or just a way to send money. And now like it's kind of like the space is starting to branch out and allow itself to have other sectors that hopefully will start moving independent of Bitcoin. And I'm really excited for that day, man. And I don't think it's too far in the future.
Dude, I mean, I was kind of thinking about it the other day. Like, I don't remember what maybe I saw or read that struck this in me, but the traditional markets have their issues, and we all know it. And I mean, it was kind of like a laughing moment, and it was kind of like we'll wait and see if this comes true. But dude, like Bitcoin came out of the 2007, 2008 financial crisis as a solution. And as we, our decades after that now, or I guess, just a little bit over that, it's becoming kind of evident to me that, dude, like cryptocurrency, like Web3, like they're literally going to, if Bitcoin and cryptocurrency was never a thing, like who knows what the traditional financial markets would do. But I really think that the traditional financial markets are going to see a lot of pain, and a lot of people are going to move to the progression of this technology. They're going to move to cryptocurrency, and it's literally going to be this product that literally like protects the world from like a huge global financial crisis. Like, I think that, a lot of people who are heavy into traditional, just heavy economics and markets are, looking at this traditional stuff, and they're like, we're a little bit insecure and everything. But dude, Elrond and this suite of other Web3 chains, like they're really going to come along, and they're going to, create an opportunity for people to, I don't know, like jump off of a sinking ship and join kind of like a hot air balloon, like if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I think we're about ready to see these things either shine or not shine, man. And I think here in the next couple of months are really going to be what's going to test things, because as things, probably get scarier in the traditional economic sense, like I think we're going to see these things get tested out and be able to see if, are these really true hedges to inflation? Are these really assets that can protect people? And I think we're about ready to get a test of that, man. Unfortunately for a lot of people, but it's a new age, it's a new era. We all, like humans as a whole, we go through these economic growth cycles, and we go through cycles, just tons of different cycles. Me and my boss were talking about it today, but I think maybe we're entering a new one, man.
Yeah, it's so crazy, and it's weird how, the older we get, it's like, as kids, life was so simple and so straightforward. But, the older I get, it's like, dang, like tomorrow really is quite unexpected. So it's just this idea that, hopefully we can all just, grow together and learn to depend on one another. There's this book that I'm reading that talks about some of the regions that have the oldest people in the world, which, implies that they're very
blue
healthy.
regions, yeah.
Yeah, they have like the most people over 100 years. They're called like centurions or something. But an aspect that, is replicated in each of these different communities all over the world is that people don't stop working. And not only that, but people also, they depend on one another, and they are invested in their own communities to, provide, whatever service, whether it's they're doing or they depending on their literal neighbor to help them out with something. And I mean, that's what I really hope to see blossom out of decentralization. Is we've grown through traditional markets and centralization, but now it comes into the spotlight of, okay, can decentralization work both, from a software perspective, from like a technology perspective, because that can maybe succeed. But if the real world cannot succeed from a decentralized standpoint, then, it becomes a question of, is it really successful? And I mean, I'm just kind of just waiting. I'm kind of on standby, waiting and kind of like searching for, what's my role going to be in the world. And, again, that's another kind of thought that I've had since I stepped away from Twitter, is like, dude, I just want to be like this, character essentially online that just, talks shit and spits some toxicity and shit like that. It's just like, no, like I want to be a part of the world. I want to be a part of communities. I want to show love and share growth and life with people. And yeah, so it's just where I hope to see this grow. But we'll just wait and see and take one day at a time, because what they do say is there are growing pains. So I think it's just important for all of us to just try to like look out for one another. And that gets into a conversation about like, man, like I've tried helping people and like being like, dude, or check out cryptocurrency, check out blockchain. Like, I don't care for you to invest in Elrond. Like, store your value on the blockchain. Like, that's I mean, and that's kind of what I'm a proponent of these days is, I'll kind of include year 2022 in that conversation. But like so far, the conversation has been don't invest in cryptocurrency, like invest in this project, invest in Cardano or Solana or Litecoin or Bitcoin. Like it's always this invest in this, invest in this. It's always a sales pitch. But I think that we all need to just like take a step back and be like, yo, like, store your value on the blockchain, utilize the blockchain. Like, as I think many other people, including the team at Elrond, kind of preach, it's like there's going to be a suite of different multi-trillion dollar, hopefully, projects, chains. And I think that as once the market can get to a place where we're not shilling coins, but rather we're just casually like, oh, I use this blockchain for this purpose and I use this blockchain for that purpose. It's like, bro, like normalize storing value on the blockchain.
Yeah, because I think in the future there's not going to be one blockchain that has it all. Yeah, so like I think that the blockchain is going to eventually turn into what looks like the traditional stock market, where people are buying certain blockchain technologies for what they bolster.
Yeah.
What they say they can deliver, and I think we're quickly moving in that direction, man. And so I think we're eventually going to have that type of setup, which is really cool, dude. I think it's awesome. Like,
Yeah.
people are beginning to accept it more, and I think we're just entering a really really cool phase, man.
Yeah, like I'm just like, I don't know, I'm not nervous, but like, at this point I'm kind of like my heart per se is on people right now who don't own any cryptocurrency, because up until now, it's like, oh, like only the early adopters, only the people who got in early really get to benefit. So like that's kind of like, I'll just call it like a dilemma that I'm kind of in my brain, is like, okay, like at what point are people going to like, invest per se or buy not Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, just because it makes sense, and not because, oh, like, I want to try to, catch this before everybody else. Like when is the perspective going to switch from invest in cryptocurrency to just use it, use it?
Yeah.
And that's because at the same time, it's like, obviously I got my position early in Elrond, but that was just, by happenstance, because I was well positioned and I was, reading and learning about, where, the market was developing. But it's just like, dang, like how can the market move in such a way where it's not so much a question of, oh, just invest in this one, and because it's early or it's a low market cap. It just, I don't know. Any response to that?
Yeah, I think I've actually read somewhere that as adoption grows, volatility decreases, because things start to move in a much more predictable manner, where things aren't just so you know what I mean, man? So like, I think it makes more sense as market caps grows, as the people who invest grows, volatility will shrink, because there won't be people who are selling their entire effing bag, because they okay, 69K, boom, I'm out. It's more of a, I bought this, it's a long-term hold, I'm watching it grow. And I think that mindset is starting to take hold as people start to realize this is a store of value. It's not a get rich quick scheme.
Totally. But yeah, I think that just in general, bringing it back to Elrond, I have the timeline, or rather the roadmap up, and this was recently updated. I mean, within a couple weeks, I looked at this and I noticed that it was kind of behind. But I'll just quickly read through some of these items coming up, and even are relative or relevant to quarter one. And I just want to hear from you, Alec, what you're kind of most interested moving forward with Elrond. So we're in quarter one of 2022 right now. Some of the things on the roadmap include Web3 payments, growth 2.0, NFT marketplace is on the roadmap for quarter one of 2022, which ends in 9 days. So what do you think? Are we getting an NFT marketplace within the next week or so?
I know you're not on Twitter, but someone translated something that Benjamin said in Romanian, because he was like on a Romanian podcast, and someone asked about the NFT marketplace, and he said it's in the final testing stages. I don't know why they're not doing any media releases over it, But to be completely honest, I don't see it coming out in quarter 1.
Really?
Maybe it is, but Benjamin also nodded his head towards the 6 existing marketplaces out there right now, and he said those are doing really well themselves.
Interesting. We'll see if we get that. It's one of those things that I think that would be good for the team to continue to, follow through. If it says Q1 2022 NFT marketplace, it doesn't say launch, it just says NFT marketplace. So like maybe there's some gray area, which I don't appreciate that if that is the case. But and this is what's frustrating is that now, the way I see it, the reason that I sold my LockMex is because the team, they didn't act according to the script, which, as you and I and many others, we know that we planned and we learned and educated ourselves on how to use the Maiar DEX and strategize. And then they kind of switched the script on us. And, I didn't talk about it earlier, but really, I hate to say that, that caused me to lose some faith in the team, more so with Maiar DEX, but more so just I still believe in the team wholeheartedly, but it's little tiny things like that, little details that, if every single solitary thing the team was delivering on or promised or written out, they delivered and they checked every box, it's come on, this, nothing is even a question. The team says something and then they deliver and it just becomes normal. So I feel like this NFT marketplace is coming under this category of question of okay, is it something to rely on? And I guess only time will tell. We've got about a week longer to see if they do follow through with it.
Yeah, and in my opinion, I've always looked at a roadmap as kind of a flexible thing anyways, but as long as they have it written down, I think they're going to do it. Yeah. That's the way I see it with the team. As long as it's written down, it might be a little late. I've noticed that things do come a little late from the Elrond team, but they're there. They do come, and they most of the time it's working really well. And so I'm happy with them, and I still have full faith in all that stuff. Maybe not the timeline, but I have full faith that the products will be there.
Hell yeah. And it's just, again, before I deleted Twitter, I got into this, conversation with a few other people. And I can't remember exactly what we were talking about, but it was, along the same lines of oh, what is the team discussing? What are they, what have they written down as kind of, promises? And it's dude, would we be talking about all this stuff? Speculating oh, can the team be trusted? We wouldn't, my opinion is that, man, we wouldn't be wasting our time questioning the team if the price was kind of reaffirming to us that Elrond has value. So I think that, the nature of the bear market at this point is just we're a little skeptical. It's not we've lost faith in the team, but we're just more willing to, entertain a lack of trust narrative. We're all excited to see the market turn around, and Alec and people watching probably know that, I think the bottom is in. But I will say that from a technical perspective, after Elrond talked about how the Central Bank of Romania approved the acquisition of TwistPay, the thing about markets is people kind of wait and look for those news headlines to kind of give them a green light. But just taking the news out of the narrative, dude, Elrond has a lot of fundamentals backing it up in the first place, and it's been trading sideways and down along with the rest of the market this whole time. So man, obviously I'm bullish, we're bullish on Elrond, but man, I'm low-key really excited, but truthfully a little bit nervous to see where Elrond is gonna go, because if you've been buying, and for me selling LockMex for Elrond, man, the world, if it wakes up, when it wakes up to Elrond, dude, I'm a little bit nervous where the price is gonna go, to be honest.
Yeah, man, they're making all the right moves, and I'm just excited for everything they're doing, dude. Yeah, this approval by the Romanian bank. As you were saying, dude, it's a matter of time before people wake up and realize that Elrond exists, and they have really established themselves as a great L1 project.
And even aside from the central bank approving that acquisition, there was also something, essentially, it sounded to me, I looked into it a little bit, but essentially the same exact thing happened with Utrust. I poked on Twitter for a second, and somebody mentioned it. I think it was like Dr. Elrond, so shout out to you.
Yeah.
But he was like, if you think that this is coincidence that, a week after Elrond, the acquisition gets approved, Utrust comes out with their own kind of, that which was also acquired. It's just like, or partnered. It's like, dude, like that, like this is seemingly, happening,
Yeah, everything is planned here. There's a lot of planning going on, and I can't remember. I saw the Dr. Elrond tweet too, and I can't remember exactly what it was, but I remember it had to do with some type of approval, and I know it's all these things are not coincidental, like Dr. Elrond said. It's all part of a bigger plan here.
Yeah. It's really cool to see, whether it be Elrond having their own successes or Utrust still being kind of under Elrond too. But then we have projects like ZoidPay, ZPay. We talked about it in the last episode. They're coming along as just kind of just like they're on their own, doing their own thing. And it seems like they have a lot that they're bringing to the table as well.
Yeah, and speaking of ZoidPay, dude, we have some exciting stuff to share with you guys. This morning when I woke up, I actually had a DM from ZoidPay, which is fucking crazy, just to even see that in my DMs. And I wake up and it says, "Hey, Alec, they want to bring their CEO, Edward, I'm probably going to butcher this, Edward Wunchi, onto our podcast." And so Stephen and I talked about it. I think we're going to do a special episode featuring Edward, the CEO and co-founder of ZoidPay. We're super excited for it, man. I talked about ZoidPay, I believe, on the last episode, if I remember correctly. And I was saying how excited I am because they create these virtual Visa and MasterCards immediately. Like, I can go shop on Amazon right now, top it up with eGold, and buy immediately on Amazon. So I'm really excited to have him on, and I'm really excited to dive deep into the project and just talk more about it with him.
Yeah, man. It was super exciting when Alec mentioned that. He sent me the message that they sent over from ZoidPay. And I guess that kind of relates to what I was saying earlier. It's just like, nobody is really, above another in this space. And, if anybody out there is watching, feel free to reach out to us if you have some input, if you have a project that you're building and you would love a platform to talk about it. Alec and I would love to talk with you and to, give you an opportunity to share what you're doing to change the world. So yeah, we're really excited that we got a message from ZoidPay, and definitely be looking out. We're not sure, we need to have a little bit more talks. We love having talks in the crypto space. But yeah, be on the lookout. That's probably going to be a completely separate episode, just the ZoidPay special. So that's really exciting, and I'm stoked to be in this with you, Alec, and the support. Obviously, we wouldn't be here without all of you all. So freaking cheers to that, big time.
Yeah, dude, we seriously wouldn't be here without all of y'all. We are a humble podcast, but we're growing, and it couldn't be done without you all. And because of that growth, we had a freaking CEO of a blockchain company reach out to us and want to be on our podcast. That means a lot to me, and I'm sure that means a lot to Stephen. Totally. It means a lot to our podcast, and this is freaking cool. And I'm talking to you right now, Benjamin. We're coming for you. We're coming for you. We want you on this podcast. Just want to throw that out there.
Yeah. So if anybody out there watching knows somebody who knows somebody, man, like, we would be humbled to, have a discussion, have a conversation. These are extremely exciting times. And I think it's just really special that we can share this with everybody, and we can all get excited together.
Yeah, dude. Well, is that it, Stephen?
I think so. There's a lot more we always could say, but it's really been awesome. I've really enjoyed this conversation with you.
Yeah, me too, man. It's really great being back, and look out for that ZoidPay episode. It's really awesome being back with you, Stephen, man, and it's great being back with the community, guys.
That's all we got. We really appreciate the viewership. If you're listening, what up? Drive safely, whatever the hell you're doing out there. But yeah, look out on Twitter. Reach out to Podcast Elrond. Reach out to Alec, and I guess if the video can get 100 likes, you might just see myself back in the Twitter sphere.
Bring him back. All right, y'all. We'll catch you on the flip side.
All right, we'll see ya.